Our first daughter was raped when she was 14. It destroyed her childhood and flipped our lives upside down. You always assume if you bring your child up right and take care of them, nothing bad will happen, but something bad just happened anyway, and there was nothing we could do afterwards to make what happened right. The man who did it got sent to jail eventually, but our daughter was never the same again. Counseling never brought her smile back. Nothing seemed to work. She seemed so cold and emotionally dead from there onward, and we tried so hard to connect back with her, but nobody could. She was an island and didn't want to talk to anyone about anything. We as parents blamed ourselves for this. We ended up pulling our daughter out of school to homeschool her because her attendance was very bad, and she suffered night terrors which kept her awake some nights. It was probably a bad decision and overprotective parenting, but we wanted to protect her and felt a regular school wasn't a safe environment for her at the time. As if the situation could be any worse, we found out our daughter was pregnant with the rapist's child. We tried to suggest an abortion because of her age and the situation, but she didn't want to. Our daughter refused to abort the pregnancy, so we kept her out of school to give birth to the baby. We raised the child as our second daughter to give our first daughter the life she was robbed. We just wanted her to enjoy her life and told her we'd raise the baby for her as her sibling, and she agreed to this. It was partly out of fear of what the neighborhood would think and partly out of wanting our daughter to continue having a normal teenage life. It wasn't ideal, but things worked for a time, and our daughter got to see her daughter whenever she wanted, which was better than giving the baby up to adoption. Things didn't last this way for long, though, as our daughter's mental health started to deteriorate. When our first daughter started to become heavily suicidal, there was nothing we could do, because every time we tried to get closer to her, she'd push us away worse than before. She was hospitalized several times for attempts until she succeeded in ending her life. This destroyed us. At first, we hated the baby and blamed it. We blamed it for the death of our daughter and were in denial. It was our fault. Eventually, though, we realized we were to blame, not the child who was brought into the world by no fault of their own. We'd focused for so long on the fact it was half of the rapist's child that we'd overlooked the fact it was also half of our daughter. It took a lot of time to come to this conclusion, but we'd always looked after the baby out of respect to our daughter. The thought of giving it up to adoption went through my mind several times, but I knew my daughter didn't want this, and so did my wife. We gave her daughter, our daughter, the best life we could. We bought her anything she could ever want, took her to concerts and on holidays. We even sent her to a private school despite the extra expense, with hopes that she will become successful in life and live the life our daughter never got to live. She is home right now, and whenever she hugs me or my wife and says, "I love you, Mom and Dad," it hurts like a dagger through our hearts. I always look towards my wife every time our daughter says it. She finds it as painful as I do, and I can tell by the look in her eyes. It's not that we don't love her. It's that her entire life is being lived believing a lie. We're actually her grandparents, and she has no idea of this. She's never asked if we're really her true parents because obviously she has never had a reason to. Part of me, though, believes lying by omission is still lying, though. We've never told her the truth about her sister being her mother. She knows her sister ended her life, but she is too young to remember her. I feel as though we're protecting her from being damaged and hurt by keeping her oblivious to all of this. Maybe I'm just being selfish, maybe my wife is too. We just don't want to see her suffer. The thought of her not being strong enough to hear the truth scares me the most. I know I shouldn't compare her to my other daughter, but I would never forgive myself if she ended her life too after learning the truth. I cannot lose both of them. I can't survive another loss like this. The whole situation is soul-crushing. The only person I can talk to is my wife. It feels like some massive thing nobody else can ever know. Not even our parents know the truth. Number 2. After 13 years clean and 8 years of marriage, I did drugs 3 weeks ago and almost came close to fully relapsing. I was a drug addict in the Lower East Side of Manhattan in the 1990s as a teen. I got clean at 21 years old after years of abuse. I got married at 26 to my amazing and beautiful wife. She knows I was an addict. I spent all these years not even really thinking that much about the concept of relapsing. It had been so long. I still thought about it, but with marriage and my kids and everything, the thought of it was just so ridiculously out of sight to even consider trying it again. 3 weeks ago, it was my friend's birthday. He is 4 years younger than me, so of course he wants to go to some cool, hip, sketchy bar club thing in Bushwick. I got drunk. Really drunk. I hadn't really drank much at all in the past few years, so my tolerance was way lower than expected. There was a dealer outside and a few other junkies nearby. I don't even fully remember what happened. I just remember going with them, abandoning my friend at the bar. It was like 1 a.m. anyways, and going to some apartment and shooting up. I spent the night there, then all the way until noon the next day. I had 10 missed calls. I panicked when I came out of my daze. I told my wife I had gotten way too drunk and was puking, and my phone was out of battery, so I stayed at Charlie's house. She was disappointed. I didn't tell her, but also thought it was funny because she used to tease me for not being able to handle my liquor. This was a "I told you so" moment. She had told me not to drink too much before I went to the bar. She wasn't even in New York. She was at a summer house with the kids in Massachusetts. I spent the next 4 days until they got back just riddled with anxiety, urges to get more drugs, horrific mind zaps. I don't even know what to call them. It was, in some ways, worse than my withdrawal symptoms when I first was an addict. Not because of the physical feeling, but the horrible mental feeling of what I was possibly giving up, my wife and kids. I wanted to freaking get more so badly. I left my house to find drugs 4 freaking times. 4 times I gave up to get more, but wasn't able to find any and snapped back to reality and went back home. I still thank freaking God I did not somehow run into some street dealer during those 4 times. I would have absolutely done it. I feel like everything I thought about myself, that I was strong, that my addiction was behind me, that I had beat drugs, it was all gone. I am not going to say I am back at square one or anything. I am not. But I feel like something inside of me has reset. My unwavering strength against addiction was broken at the slightest temptation. I still am weak. Drug is so much stronger than me. It's truly unbelievable how much stronger it is than me. When I was young, my aunt had cancer. She beat it. Then it came back soon after, and she beat it again. It didn't come back, and we loved how strong she was for fighting her cancer and that she had overcome it. She lived with us. I remember her feeling of strength after her 2nd year of not having cancer, her 3rd year, her 6th year. It finally felt like it was gone for good. Her thinking, it's finally behind me now. It's a part of my past. And then it just freaking came back. 9 years after her first diagnosis, it came back and she couldn't handle this time. I remember her feelings and how she felt about it, so many years after she thought it had gone away. That is how I feel. Like a cancer, which I thought I got rid of a decade ago, just showed back up on my screening. The first 5-6 days after I tried it that time outside the bar were the worst. My kids and wife have come back. The urges mostly went away the second I saw my kids. I hugged them so damn hard, and I never told my family what happened. Nor will I ever. My wife never understood that side of me. She met me 5 whole years after I was clean. I just cannot have her know, ever. I won't do it again. I am planning on not drinking to excess like that again, except maybe in very specific situations like at the summer house where there is no option of drugs. I mean, not like I want to get drunk again like that, but just in case I ever want to get loose. I am never doing that in the city again. I am still about 90% plus sure that I won't ever touch drugs again. I am still positive in myself about it. It's just, it used to be 99% sure. That is what freaking terrifies me. I said drug is stronger than me. It is absolutely stronger than me. But the reason I won't ever do it again is that it isn't stronger than my family, my wife, and kids. I don't care about how good it feels. I will not subject my wife and children to me being an addict. I would rather just kill myself than that.